Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 17th of December. The first important news. Parliament passes bill to give ST status to Hattee community. Second, China is expanding model village in a strategic area. Third, Prime Minister emphasizes need for peace dialogue between Russia and Ukraine. Fourth, SEBI sets performance reporting norms for the portfolio managers. And the last is an editorial funding the transition. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is Parliament passes bill to give ST status to Hattee community, something important for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic, that is welfare schemes for the vulnerable section of the population by the center and the state government. Recently, the Parliament, the Lok Sabha, has passed a bill to give scheduled tribe status to the member of Hattee community. This is basically from the Himachal Pradesh, and government has recently included some of the other tribes like Gond tribe of Uttar Pradesh into the scheduled tribe list. The Union Tribal Affairs Minister, Mr. Arjun Munda, has piloted the Constitutional Scheduled Tribe Order 30 Amendment 2022 that sets a bill provide for justice to the Hattee community of Transgri area of Sharmore district in the hilly state of Himachal Pradesh. So here the location become important, and even this can be relevant for the map work for the UPSC prelims examination. So make sure you're thorough about the region and even the district that is adjacent to that. The Hattee community members living in Uttarakhand were included in the scheduled tribe, but the benefits were not accorded to those who are living in the Himachal Pradesh. तो इससे पहले जो उत्तराखंड के लोग थे उनको एक्चुअली सारे बेनिफिट्स मिल रहे थे, but the people who are residing in Himachal Pradesh were deprived of the benefits that should be given to them. The Hattees are close knit to the community and got their names from their traditional selling and home growing vegetables. Basically, these are the community that sell particular vegetables, crop, meat, wools, and small. Basically, they have a market which in Hindi called as Haat. So by that only they derive their name Hattee communities. Now, request for the state government. The state government of Himachal Pradesh has requested the central government to include this community of the Transgri area of Sharmore district to the scheduled tribe list, excluding those which are already notified in the scheduled caste of the Himachal Pradesh. तो ऐसे community जो already scheduled caste के list में वहाँ के state legislation में basically state के list में already mention है, उन लोगों को नहीं, बाकी Hattee community will be the part of ST. See, caste is a subject which is under the state list. There are three lists which is mentioned in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. The first is the center list, other is the state list, and third is the concurrent list. Right? Better state is also known as union list, or you can call it union, state, and concurrent list. So caste is a subject which is already enshrined in the state list of the Constitution. The bill follows the recommendations of the Himachal Pradesh government that the Hattee community will be included in the list of the scheduled tribe in respect to the state. Now, looking into the areas where they're actually residing, so you can see these are the map work relevant for the prelims examination as well. There's a region of Himachal Pradesh, and if you talk about the river that is important here, that's the Giri River, Yamuna River, and the Tongs River, and these are some of the important areas where the community is being prevalent. Now, what are the advantages of the bill? One of the bill is approved by the parliament. Once it is approved, the rules are framed. The members of the Hattee community will be entitled for all the benefits and provided for the members to the scheduled tribe, especially which is regards to the reservation in the educational institution as well as for the government job. So these are the two major benefits that will be borne by the people belonging to the Hattee community once the government passes and recognize them as a scheduled tribe community. Now, scheduled tribe in India की अगर बात करें, as per census 2011, there are 700 recognized scheduled tribe in India. The largest number of tribe is found in Odisha. However, the state of UT like Punjab, Chandigarh, Haryana, NCT of Delhi, Puducherry have no list of scheduled tribe at present. So these are the two factual information that might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination, or basically you can even utilize this type of point as a fodder point in your mains examination. Moving to the other news, China is expanding model village in strategic area, something important for general studies paper 2, under the subtopic that is India and its neighborhood relations. According to the defense sources, China is expanding its model village close to the line of actual control, opposite to Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, including the Chumbi Valley, which face the strategic, crucial an area which is residing around the Siliguri corridor. This is an additional to continuation of its infrastructure development and additional deployments along the line of actual control. This is persistent, and even we have witnessed this for a longer period of time. China repeatedly tried to intermediate this region, and with actual construction activities, they tried to provoke the Indian side. Now, in November, the land clearing activities was observed to an existing village with 7 kilometers from the Bumla. Now, Bumla is a border between the China and it's a Kona country in Tibet and India's Tangwang district in Arunachal Pradesh. So these areas and borders are really sensitive and part of the line of actual control, and Government of India has also understand the gravity of this border. So the reason being sensitive to high, the deployment of the paramilitary forces and army is always active over there. Now, the other development area, similarly opposite to Uttarakhand, the constructions of such villages is there in the Churpa area, which is 11 kilometers from the line of actual control, and this is about the completions. Another model village that comprised 35 to 36 dwelling is under construction and about 52 kilometers from the line of actual control. This is called Kwenji, opposite to the middle sector. And also the number of tunnel that is under construction near the Pantega airfield, which is believed to be the part of the railway station over there. And there's about 160 kilometers of line of actual control opposite in the Arunachal and rest of the Arunachal Pradesh area. So these are the development and progress that is taking place, and India definitely need to strengthen this area to ensure that there is no distraction and distribution of the land in terms of line of actual control. Now, moving to the other news, Prime Minister emphasized need for peace dialogue between Russia and Ukraine, something important for general studies paper 2, under the subtopic that is effects and policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest and India's diaspora as well. The Prime Minister of India has recently had a telephonic conversation with the President of Russia, and he has reiterated the requirement for the peace and diplomacy to tide over the crisis that is ongoing between Russia and Ukraine. We have seen the conflict which actually started way back in February 2022, and it's a long battle that has continued. And even the destroyment that took place in the Ukraine is to the larger extent. Many people are basically exempted from the electricity, and the conditions, the weather condition in Ukraine is also very severe. They are witnessing severe cold, and snowfall is also evident over there. Following the meeting in the Samarkand, in the sideline of S20, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the two leaders have several important aspects of relationship that also was concluded. And the talk was regarding the energy cooperations, trade and investment, defense and security cooperations, mutual investment, agriculture, transport and logistics. So these were some of the core areas and area of interest between India and Russia. Now, India-Russia's relation has received a great deal from the Western attention in 2022, especially after Russia emerged as a topmost supplier of energy to India in a backdrop of just war which started in February 2022. Russia readout, however, indicated that the cooperations in the direction is expected to strengthen the coming month. The two leaders has also discussed the close coordinations that is leading between India presidency for G20 and upcoming chair for India in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So India's juncture at international forum is very important. India has recently overtaken the G20 presidency from India, and this presidency will continue till November 2023, right? So this is again an important timeline to note it. And India will soon take the chairmanship of SU as well. So those of you who have PSIR as an optional, and even for General Studies paper 3 as well and 2 as well, this might be relevant for the mains examination as well. Now, in February 2022, Russia has launched full-scale invasion for the Ukraine and Belarus to the north. Russia has annexed Crimea Peninsula to south and its own territory in the east. The war since killed 1,000 people, displaced millions, and destroyed the cities. Many of the important cities in Ukraine, like Kiev, Kharkiv, these are the places which has been mostly destroyed, and people are finding it very tough to reside their livelihood with the paucity and basically the lackness which is there in terms of electricity and basic amenities that is required. If you look into the map part, Russia's troop that is advancing in the Ukraine. So the red and color is clear denotations will give you an idea about the basically the troops that is extending to the Ukraine. So these are some of the region around the Ukraine. Mostly it is expanding day by day. So the expansion has took place, and in retaliation to that, Ukraine is also taking a standoff. Now, moving to the other news, SEBI sets performance reporting norms for portfolio managers. Something important for General Studies paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth and development. Recently, the Security and Exchange Board of India has released the norms for the portfolio managers pertaining to the performance benchmarking, asking them to adopt an additional layer of broadly defined investment strategies while making the client fund, right? So they have to take an extra caution once they come up with entire details of the fund. The portfolio managers in India are not allowed to disclose any model of the portfolio returns or the performance one or more cherry-picked portfolios in any communications to the client. So this is a level of privacy and that has to be maintained while their performance is being audited. Now, there are also the requirement to disclose the relative performance in the investment approach in making the market. So first, there's a performance related to the selected benchmark, and second, performance related to other portfolio manager in the selected category, or you can say selected strategy. The provision will come into effect from 1st of April 2023. What is investment approach and strategy? The portfolio manager document their investment philosophy and investment approach in order to achieve the client investment objective. And the circular form the market regulator said, SEBI market regulator, I mean SEBI. So SEBI now, in addition to the AI, that is investment plan or the investment strategy, will have an additional investment themes that is called as the strategy to be adopted by the portfolio managers. And these broad strategy will be equity, debt, hybrid, and multi-asset. So there are three kind of strategy that will be adopted. Like the funds, there are different categories of mutual fund that is also operating in the security markets. Now, there's benchmarking strategy. Benchmarking purpose, the SEBI has mandated that the Association of Portfolio Managers of India to prescribe the maximum of 3 benchmarks for each strategy. That is for equity, debt, hybrid, and multi-assets. For each strategy, the portfolio managers must select the benchmark which must reflect the core philosophy of the strategy. What is the rationale behind the selection? Why and how they will make the profit out of it. So each and every rationale has to be there before they make the selections. Now, performance reporting, the portfolio manager services manages the requirement for the close and the time weight return, which exclude the impact of intermittent cash flows from the subscriptions and redemption to the return of each strategies. Now, if you look into the valuations part, coming to the valuations of the portfolio of the debt and the money market security portfolio manager services, they have to follow the norms that will be prescribed by the Association of Portfolio Managers of India, and the rules will come correspondence to the applicable mutual fund as well. And AMPI is required to impanel the valuation agencies for the purpose providing security to all level of portfolio managers. And these managers are mandatory use the valuation services to obtain only one or more such impaneling agencies. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, this is funding the transition, something relevant for General Studies paper 2. Actually, this is relevant for General Studies paper 3 precisely, where conservation, environmental impact, and assessment are concerned, right? So what is important in this part? Talking about the issues. First is about the climate adaptations. Second is loss and damage fund. And third is the way forward, right? And talking about the theme of this particular editorial, talks about energy transition and climate fund. So extreme weather events are becoming more prevalent with each passing years, and countries are increasingly taking the cognizance of this, even to the fact the climate change is clearly evident globally. We have seen the glacier melting, and there are other repercussions that is seen due to the climate change. Yet there remain rift between the developing countries and the developed countries are there, and the account of asymmetry always exists between the financial responsibility that is assumed due to climate change. There has been a conflict. There has been a conflict of debate when it comes to, when it's come to the climate repercussion that is taking place because of the activities that is done by the developed countries, and even most of the repercussion is being borne by the developing countries as well. The estimated 92% of the excess historical emissions are attributed by the developing countries. Basically, this is being mostly attributed by the developed countries, and the repercussion is being headed by the developing countries. Yet the economic impact of the climate change is disproportionately borne by the vulnerable developing country. तो जितने भी developed countries हैं उनके जो भी activities हुए हैं, most of the countries are already industrialized, but उसके जो problems हैं उसे अब developing countries को सहना पड़ रहा है. That is the reason they have also asked for the corpus fund. We'll see that on the later part of the video. The 58 vulnerable countries, that is V20, account for 5% of the global emissions, while the cost was incurred as a significant. Now, climate adaptations की बात करें, UNEP estimates that the efforts on climate adaptations will require 160 to 350 billions by 2030. This is an estimation which was calculated by the UNEP, but the financial flow are inadequate, with developing countries receiving only 1/3 of the desired requirement. Now, the dual cost of shifting of the fossil fuel, that the climate catastrophes are expected, a physical resilience as developing countries reel under the pressure. Even they are also witnessing inflation, the economic slowdown, and post-COVID economic recovery is also not that fast. And there's excess sovereign debt that is also borne by the countries. The target of 100 billion per year by 2020, even as a climate action which was envisaged by the 15th Conference of Parties, COP 15 की अगर बात करें वहाँ पे 100 बिलियन तक कॉर्पोरेट करने की बात की गई थी फ्रॉम द डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज टू द डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज हैज नॉट येट मेट अगेन. So these are some of the challenges, loopholes that still exist when it comes to the climate finance and the commitment to the climate finance. The frustrations of the developing countries, especially the small island countries, is definitely palpable at COP27. तो COP27 में कुछ जो रिमार्केबल काम हुई है उसमें लॉस्ट और डैमेज फंड एक ऐसी वर्क है, ऐसे आउटकम है दैट इज मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट एंड मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट. So what is lost and damage fund? Recently, during the COP20 summit, the delegates from the United Nations have agreed to come up and formulate with a lost and damage fund, which will be compensating the most vulnerable countries for their losses due to climate-related disasters. To restore the lost legitimacy, the US has made several announcements in the COP27, but it lacks supports from the Lost and Damaged Fund, financing the global sheets meant to support the vulnerable countries to address the climate change must be factored in. So see, what is important here, precisely for India, loss and damage fund is something that will be required. But in Indian context, the point is that India is mostly using coal as its fuel, main source of energy. India की जो requirement है, 50 to 60% requirement is from the coal. So India will also have to ensure to make the benefit out of the lost and damage fund, we have to reduce the uses of coal and seek for an alternative source of energy. Now, what is the way forward? During G20 presidency, India called for inclusive, ambitious, action-oriented and decisive actions with regards to the climate change. And while the release of long-term low-carbon development strategy a fitting response from India, there's need for better guidance on the pathway for the net zero emissions. India has categorically said the net zero emission will be achieved by 2070. During the COP26 meeting, the Prime Minister has highlighted the Panchamrit initiative, where he has called that India would be achieving the net zero emissions by 2070. तो Panchamrit के जितने भी points हैं आपको सारे पता होने चाहिए. What is going to be achieved by 2030 and what India is achieving by 2070. So there are 5 important themes that you must know and very important for your mains examination. Even you can quote it wherever required in paper 2 or paper 3. Now, the India is charging for G20 this year. The question is phasing out the coal. That will be asked repeatedly. As I've told you, India is mostly dependent on coal for the energy requirement. So, इसे हमें कम करने की ज़रूरत है. Then only we can be basically responsible country in terms of the energy transitions. Already growing interest is there in signing of energy transition partnership with India. The principle of common but differentiated responsibility should also not be adhered, and even to promise of financials should be made. So India and its responsibility is looking forward to make alternative source of energy, and India has already said that it will take its due process by 2030. It will be severely reducing the requirement, but the developed countries has to ensure that they are adhering to the commitment that is actually made in many multilateral platforms. So this is how you can conclude your answers. Moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is C again. Today's MCQ for practice. The Union government launched Swamita scheme for which of the following purposes: mapping the land parcels, higher education, old age pension, or child care nutrition. You have to check for the correct option. This was a scheme where a direct question can be framed or two statement question can be framed from this particular scheme. Second question of the day, that is, which of the following dashboard would you allow to monitor the infrastructure projects? National Infrastructure Pipeline, National Infrastructure Board, Infrastructure Development Board, and IAFCL project pipeline. So do check it out for the correct options. The government of India has put impetus in development of infrastructure for the entire country, and there are a lot of highways that has been built under the current incumbent government. So these are the questions again relevant for the prelims examination. Practicing a lot more question will give you an edge and clarity over the topic. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.